The downside of being Pavarotti is I can't just go ride my horse on the beach whenever I want to. It's not freedom.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's Jeff Heilman project. I'm Jessica Heilman and I'm sitting across from Jeff
What's up, people?
Heilman.
Welcome to the podcast.
Today's podcast is, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're actually in the same outfit. You're not missing it. We're in the same outfit. We're cutting two episodes. And it's actually the perfect segue because this is going to be another little bite-sized bit from the Jeff and Jessica Heilman project here, and I've just inserted myself into the Jessica and the Jeff and Jessica.
It's the Jeff and
project.
Jessica. I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now.
Anyway, the Jeff Heilman project. On full transparency today, I have been failing to plan and therefore been planning to fail. So today's
we watched Serena.
Oh my goodness!
And Venus, the movie.
King Richard, and kudos Will Smith.
If you haven't watched that movie, which seems to be I haven't watched most movies. Jessica's like, oh, remember that movie we watched? I'm like, no, I think I was working. Remember that one? No, I was throwing newspapers. Well, wait, you surely watched this movie. No, I think I was at a conference. What about this movie? I had booth duty in Vegas. Like, you guys have watched hundreds, thousands of movies.
Well, when you have as many kids
I
as
think it's
we
the
have,
right, yeah, you go for drives.
You can buy movies for like $19.99, or you can take your kids to the movies for $199.
$125. No, there's nothing wrong with you guys watching movies. It's something that I think if anybody actually knew how hard, I always tell people that I for a long time I told my wife, no, she doesn't work. And then I started telling people she stays home, and they were like, oh, with all the 7 kids. If anybody knew how hard you actually worked, if they looked at your actual schedule of what you get done in a day, all the meals, all the cleaning, all the cooking, all the shopping, all the bill pays, all the social stuff that you do, all the praying for people, your ministry duties with the church, the book learning for the kids, the travel, the putting up with my crap.
It's a lot.
Nobody would believe how much you actually get done in a day.
I've learned 2 things in 28 years of raising a big family. They will sit quiet and contained in the car because there's seatbelts, and that's by law. And then they will sit quiet and contained for an hour and 35 minutes, maybe, a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
And so, but it's got to be entertaining. It's got to be, and so having a time of day or a time during the week, a regular cadence to watch a movie. We also we love film that is acclaimed. It's really, in books, you've got the Caldecott winning books, and so if you can find books that have been acclaimed as children's books, like those are the ones that are like top tier. If you can find acclaimed movies, a lot of times they'll get your attention because they're acclaimed, right? And so being able to kind of have that family time, it's togetherness time, it's time that we all sit together, and it brings us together. It draws us together.
It's really nice.
So when we watched King Richard, and I made sure to look at the wiki and see that Venus and Serena were executive producers of it, and that they said, this is as close to the actual account as what really happened that they, recalled and wanted to document. The big, Richard had a plan for his 2 girls.
Yeah, like 78-page plan
before they were even born.
Before they were born.
And so what that kind of reminded me, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, pre the loss of my grandparents, there are seasons when we're not going to have a plan. Let's just be honest. There are seasons when so much is hitting you at once that you're just not. But I pulled out, we're pulling out of it. My daughter is now 7, so we're kind of life is kind of going back on track. And I'm looking at my daily routine and remembering all of that self-governing, your success rises on your daily routine. And this is like what you do on a daily basis is going to determine your future. The honest to God, you guys, the person in our family that has had the most successful routine recently, the longest, has been Andrew.
I would agree.
dedication, and he's nodding his head, for the last, how long have you been on your like routine now, Andrew? It's been a couple years, right?
It's been since probably December of 2021.
Yeah.
So
Since
almost
December
3
of
years.
2021, at the tender age of what, 16, I think?
15.
15, I think.
14.
14,
back then.
15.
Yeah, because he's 17.
This child of mine has had an alarm set on his phone to wake up at a certain time. He's got clean the bathroom at a certain time. He's got do the dishes at a certain time. He's got his calendar. And granted, he's been afforded the flexibility in order to do that, to be consistent and have a successful routine. And he's seen weight loss happen. He's seen books being able to be read, and like he has become a master and commander of his daily routine. And so that's what today's topic is about, is me coming to our audience and saying, yay, I spent a whole week on a daily routine with alarms set
And time boxing.
and time boxing.
Yeah, which all these guys are out there talking about. Motion, the new AI app that'll do time boxing
Really?
for you.
Well,
You did
so
it with
let's
your
just,
own AI.
I know you also have like been influenced to create a new daily routine. So I wanted to, since I know this podcast is not going to be very long, I just wanted to share, and maybe Jeff, if you want to share too, I'm going to take a minute to share with the audience my daily routine that was successfully tried and tested for a week last week. And I'm more and more excited about it as we go. Okay. So wake up is at, and now I'm going to amend it a little bit because I have been back to my weight loss and psychology, back to Newman. I need to get 8 hours of sleep. 5 hours isn't enough, but wake up at 5. So from 5 to 6, it's prayer time. From 6 to 7, it's walk the dog. From 8 to 9, it's eat breakfast. Now, this is the perfect day. This is not going to happen every day, but this is the perfect day. And from 10:30 to 11:30 is slotted for running errands. So that's like to go to the grocery store, take Andrew to the gym. 10:30 to 11:30 is running errands. 12 o'clock is to make lunch from 12 to 1. And then what I have is I have set aside during the afternoon what I'm calling affectionately the golden hour, which is between 1 and 4. And the golden hour is for when I'm slotted to make gold. So that's going to be when I'm going to be writing books, working on a business, helping the kids with their homeschooling. This is the golden hour. This is when we learn, grow, and produce and place the seed for future gold in our lives, 1 to 4. 5 o'clock is starting to prep to make dinner from 5 to 6. 6 o'clock is family dinner. 7 to 9 is family time. And then 9 to 10 is when I put the kids to bed, the little ones to bed, and I ride my bike. And then I plan for the next day, to put the things in the slots for the plan the next day. And I'm in bed between 10 and 11.
You also take breaks.
I do.
And
And
I
there were
think
some
that-
slots, if anybody was like jotting that down, there's a couple of empty slots. Like I skip from, I think it's 6 to 7 is walk the dog, and then like 9 to 10. Like there's a break in there that I can sit back and have a cup of coffee, make sure there's margins. It's not every hour that's packed.
Well, I see you. This is going to sound like, I have to preempt this and say it's going to sound like it's off, but it's not. I see you sitting on the couch a lot. Mm-hmm. And watching HGTV, and I know you. I know what you actually get done, so it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I would rather have you sitting on the couch eating bonbons, as the proverbial joke says, than working as hard as you actually do. But you actually do a better job, I think, of weaving rest and recuperation into your day than I do. I tend to go, and then you're like, how many times have you come in at 3:30 or 4 o'clock and you're like, hey, what did you have for lunch? And I'm like, I didn't have breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't necessarily know. And it's because I'm in the zone or I'm under a deadline or something. But I think you do as much as you do.
Well, think about,
because you spend some time giving yourself buffers and breaks during
even though
the
the
day.
schedule that I just shared was very detailed, like 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 3 of those components were breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And at least 2 of those were related to health, riding my bike and then making a walk. So that I've got actual 5 slots, 5 time slots throughout the day dedicated to recovery, because it is therapeutic. If you actually put into your plan a time for making dinner, the process of the making dinner is restorative. Cutting the vegetables, boiling the water.
Wow. I would never in a million
This
years
is a
have thought of that.
restorative process. And then getting to
I
sit
retired
down.
from cooking when I got married.
Getting to sit down and getting to actually eat and having it be with the family. That whole so the fact that, I mean, I make my oatmeal every morning. I make lunch. I make dinner. These are acts that are woven out throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
And the place where I've seen myself failing, or just like these last seasons having to deal with grandma and grandpa and just like, okay, well, drive through Taco Bell, we'll drive through McDonald's, we'll drive through, just slam it and get it done, because I'm in the middle of this massive project. I'm in the middle of this thing that's my life is taking over me, and I'm not taking back my life. And so that's kind of today's message, was like, take back your life. Did you find yourself, after watching the movie, after thinking, after meditating, deciding to come to a more scheduled approach to your daily routine?
Yeah, and I thought I've been fighting time boxing for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica has been telling me, you need business hours. I'm like, I have business hours. When are your business hours? Like 3:15 in the morning when I wake up until 11 o'clock at night when I fall asleep. And
all day, every day.
I have an imprint on my face from the keyboard. And she's like, that doesn't work. And so there have been a couple of pillars or dominoes that have moved me toward this. One is our CEO works every morning from 6 to 5. 6 to 5. Now, he's CEO of a huge business and
a lot of projects.
A lot of projects, a lot of hours. His calendar is typically booked every single minute of every single day, but only from 6 to 5. So it's 11 hours and no more. And he has fun on the weekends and on his time off, and spends time with family, and it's got a good balanced
vacations.
life. So I started thinking, okay, that's pretty good. And then I started looking at trying to see my life. Warren Buffett says something interesting, that he sees stocks as a portion of a bigger company. So if it's almost like a blood draw, right? When you get your blood drawn, they'll tell you how the whole body is doing from just a small sample of one vial of blood. It'll tell you how your body's doing. Well, he sees stock as a blood draw, and what you're investing in the blood draw is you're investing in a small piece of the whole company. And so I was thinking, all right, well, what if my life could be a blood draw of like somebody really big's life, like Rockefeller or Roebling, the guy that did, I think still to this day, John Roebling Strauss or something, the guy that built the Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge is beautiful. It's big. It's a engineering marvel for sure by today's standards, but he built it with rocks and no electricity and only, I mean, simple engines and simple tools of stuff. Same thing with the Panama Canal. So with regard to project management and planning, I thought, what if I could see what if I were to blow my life up to that big and then apply those types of disciplines, what would it look like? And everything, all roads seem to point to time boxing. And then I listened to a podcast 2 weeks ago that was so good. If you are struggling with time boxing the way that I was, if you are sitting there saying, even Pavarotti said, nice thing about being Pavarotti is I get to travel around the world, meet a bunch of people and sing. The downside of being Pavarotti is I can't just go ride my horse on the beach whenever I want to. It's not freedom. And I think if you're struggling with time boxing the way that I was, and some people, you might be listening to this, be like, you're an idiot. I live by time boxing. I'm in my calendar. What's the big deal? And the
Then
big deal for me
with
was
somebody else.
Yeah, share it with somebody else, right? Good for you. Glad
for
you did
you.
the time boxing. But if you are struggling with it like I was, this podcast from Alex Hormozi changed my life. And what he basically did was he said, there's 2 types of time boxing. And I'm like, record scratch, like what is this? And he said, there's manager time where you try to put as many 5-minute meetings into a period of time as you possibly can. And then there's maker time. And you brought that up earlier with your golden hour. The maker time is where there is no clock. The phone is off. You are not context shifting every 5 minutes to try to get the most linear yield for the time. You're actually going after one big major project. And then he described in this podcast the way that he sets up. He says, if you can't do it the way I do it, then do it this way. He says, if you can't, the way he does it is he has 1 day a week for management stuff. So he'll have like 100 meetings on Monday.
Right.
Every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes.
And then he does manager day on Monday, and then he does maker day on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which then you look at how much content he's turning out, and you're like, oh, that's how he can turn out. I mean, the guy ships like 3 podcasts a day, every day, all in 4K, all multiple camera angles, all 20, 40 minutes, some of them 2 hours, and he ships just an unbelievable amount of content, and it's all super good. But he has maker days for that. And he says, if you can't do that, then have manager day be at the end of your day and start booking meetings at the end of your day backwards. So start with whatever the end is. Let's say your end is 5 o'clock. Book your 5 o'clock time, and then book your 4 o'clock time, and then your 3 o'clock time, and then your 2 o'clock time. And then on that day, you block out from 8 in the morning until 2 o'clock is maker time. I think that's fantastic. And what I actually did with that timeboxing is I said, since I cover a group of customers that's based in Europe, and so pretty much I can pretty much get them to leave me alone until about 7:30 in the morning. But after that, it's like bedtime for them. Europe is starting at 8 hours. So at 7:30, it's 3:30 p.m. for them. And if you're on the other side of that time zone, like I think Israel's 10 hours ahead. So like they're used to working late, but I'm basically going to be doing meeting first thing in the morning my time, or I'm just not going to get them that day. So what I started doing is I started taking from 4 a.m. to 7:30 is maker time for me. That's my maker time. That's my golden hours as I'm up first. And sometimes Jessica's got to crawl out of bed and go sleep in the guest room because I need that time open. This morning it was really early. I was up at like 2:30. It was just earlier than and then I went back to bed. But I have that golden time blocked out as maker time, and that's actually my favorite. That's the reason why I didn't want to do time boxing, is because I was afraid I'd have to give up that maker time where I can just sit there and let my mind do all the things that I want to do with regard to scheduling, with regard to workflow, with regard to project management, with regard to all of these aspects of my creativity. I have to have time to do that. And so what we found is that you can actually block that out at a time when you will not be interrupted, either later at night or earlier in the morning or sometime in the day when it's okay for you to have your phone turned off. And what that does is it gives you the striations of that left brain manager time during certain blocks. And then you also have maker time that is just as important, just as defendable.
Absolutely.
As your actual blocked out time.
And with that, we have some time limits on this podcast. You have a phone call for your time boxing.
I do.
Let's put a pin in it and possibly let's talk in our next episode about, it's going to be another week. Let's talk about project management, how you handle your projects, how I handle my projects, and we will have a much more in-depth conversation on our next episode. I would love
for the folks out there, if you have comments on time boxing, time management, workflow, project management, Gantt charts, Kanban.
Send us all the stuff.
Send it all, because I'll read it. And appreciate you being with us today on the Jeff Heilman Project. Have a great day.
Have a great day. See you next time.